What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. Islam Makhachev has reacted to Daniel Cormier, claiming he would beat Jon Jones in a pure wrestling matchup. Islam explained that this is one of those rare scenarios where wrestling alone changes everything. He said Jones is clearly very good at wrestling and has shown that throughout his career, but wrestling is truly Cormier's world. According to Islam, if the contest stays strictly in wrestling, Cormier would be able to handle Jones. He pointed out that Cormier competed at an Olympic level and has an extremely high wrestling base, which separates him from most fighters. Islam added that once rules, strikes, and MMA elements are removed, experience and instincts from elite wrestling become the deciding factor. In that environment, he believes Cormier's style, strength, and technical understanding would give him the edge over Jones under wrestling rules with no strikes. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to help support the channel. Moving on to another news. Paddy Pimblett has taken more shots at Arman this week, once again questioning the level of opposition he has faced and how he has been handled throughout his career. Paddy suggested that Arman has been pushed along because of his background, saying he believes Arman thinks everything will just fall into place for him in the UFC. He claimed Arman has had a lot put on a plate for him over the years and criticized what he sees as favorable matchmaking. Paddy also revisited the situation surrounding the canceled fight with Islam, claiming Arman pulled out with a bad back when, in his opinion, the real issue was weight cutting. He went on to say Arman turned down a fight with Gamrot, then accepted what Paddy described as the most favorable matchup possible against an opponent who supposedly could not grapple. Paddy mocked the performance, saying Arman was nearly caught in a guillotine and arguing that it only highlighted weaknesses in his grappling. Continuing the rant, Paddy said that while watching the fight, he thought if he ever locked Arman in a guillotine, Arman would be going unconscious. He also criticized an incident where Arman appeared to headbutt on the way in, questioning why someone would do that and suggesting he could have been cut badly in that moment. Despite all the criticism, Paddy did acknowledge that Arman has good wrestling, calling it his strongest attribute. However, Paddy was quick to add that wrestling alone would not be enough against him. He said Arman would not be able to simply hold him down and lie on top of him, and that a grappling matchup between them would be very interesting. Paddy then took another dig at Arman's resume, claiming the people he has beaten are either past their prime or involved in close fights that many fans thought could have gone the other way. He said a lot of people, himself included, did not believe Arman beat Charles when they watched it live. Paddy wrapped up by pointing out that the last opponent he personally beat was knocked out in the first round, using that as a comparison. The conversation then shifted to middleweight, where Paddy and Tom discussed Khamzat and the landscape heading into 2026. Both agreed they do not see anyone at middleweight capable of beating Khamzat. Paddy said he believes Khamzat would run straight through the division, even acknowledging there are talented fighters like Imavov and Baralho. While giving credit to the rest of the division, both maintained that Khamzat is on a completely different level and remains the biggest threat at middleweight going forward. Moving on to another news. RDR has opened up about reflecting on his recent loss to Brendan Allen and what went wrong inside the cage. The two fought this past October, and between the 4th and 5th rounds, RDR's corner made the difficult decision to throw in the towel. The fight was stopped after it became clear he could not continue, and RDR admits that large portions of the bout are now a blur to him. He explained that he does not even remember certain moments and has since started undergoing tests to better understand and improve his cardio moving forward. Speaking on his YouTube channel, RDR described the fight from what he can recall. He remembers walking out, seeing the referee signal the start, and closing the distance quickly. He believes he landed a strike, got close, grabbed hold, and executed a throw, using the Harai Goshi that has worked so well for him throughout his career. Once on top, he felt like he was in control, but at the same time, he did not feel like himself. Normally, when he takes someone's back, he is immediately close to finishing a choke, yet this time, it did not happen. He recalled having his left arm deep around Allen's neck, but being unable to free his right arm, something that he says has rarely, if ever, happened to him in a fight. As the round progressed, he stood up and suddenly felt all the energy leave his body. He was relieved just to make it back to the stool. From there, his memory becomes hazy. He does not remember much of what his corner told him, only that he went back out, saw the takedown opening again, shot for it, and from that point on, his recollection almost completely disappears. Since the fight, RDR has been focused on finding answers. He explained that he is planning to undergo VO2 max testing to establish a proper baseline for his cardio. He is also getting blood work done to see what can be improved and has been researching specific therapies to raise his red blood cell count and improve physical recovery. While he admits his current position in the division is not as strong as it was before the loss, RDR remains confident. He believes he is still very much in the mix, can climb back up the rankings, and potentially get close to a title opportunity next year. Most importantly, he is determined to earn a rematch, prove that performance was not a true reflection of him, and show that he still has so much more to give inside the cage. Moving on to another news, Paul Felder has shared new insight into Ilia's personal situation, and it has quickly caught attention across the MMA world. Felder revealed that he recently saw Ilia training at a gym that was not the massive home gym inside his mansion, the one he normally uses with his full coaching staff and sparring partners. That detail alone raised eyebrows, considering how well-equipped Ilia's home setup is. According to Felder, Ilia is no longer staying in his own house at the moment, as his wife currently resides there. This development comes amid ongoing legal proceedings related to Ilia's divorce. Reports suggest that financial terms have played a major role in the negotiations, with some indications that significant financial demands have been part of the discussion. It has been reported that Ilia has agreed to some of the requested terms, while also making it clear that protecting his personal relationships, especially those involving his children, remains his top priority throughout the process. A legal analyst named Robigo addressed the situation as well, emphasizing that everything being reported comes directly from official legal actions and documents filed in court. He urged the public to avoid speculation or assumptions, warning that doing so can easily lead to misinformation. The case is still ongoing within the legal system, and any final outcome will be determined solely by the courts based on evidence and proper legal review, not by public opinion or outside commentary. Felder expanded on the situation by explaining how difficult it is for a fighter to stay mentally locked in while dealing with such serious personal matters. He pointed out that if Ilia is going to be out for an extended period, and with everything going on involving his ex-wife, finances, and children, his focus naturally needs to be there. Felder stressed that it is nearly impossible to prepare properly for a fight at the highest level if your mind is divided by issues of that magnitude. At the elite level, he said, a fighter must be completely dialed in. Despite all of that, Felder confirmed that Ilia is still training. He recalled seeing him in the gym on January 1st, but noted that it was a completely different location, not his home gym. Felder explained that Ilia actually left his house to go train elsewhere, which stood out to him. He added that if someone had a gym as good as Ilia's at home, there would be no reason to leave just to do a bag workout at a public facility. In Felder's view, the fact that Ilia was training somewhere else strongly suggests he is no longer living in that house right now, highlighting just how much his personal life has shifted during this ongoing legal process. Moving on to another news, Zhang Weili came up short in her attempt to become a two-division UFC champion after losing to Valentina Shevchenko in November. Despite close odds and major hype around the matchup, Valentina proved to be too big and too strong on the night. Zhang struggled to get her offense going and ultimately dropped a clear unanimous decision. Her head coach, John Wood, admitted there were many factors that shaped the fight, but the size difference was impossible to ignore. Wood praised Valentina as the best female fighter in the world right now, saying she showed exactly why she holds that position. He explained that Valentina is incredibly patient, technically sharp, and willing to do whatever it takes to win. She can point fight, wrestle, control opponents on the ground, and slowly chip away round by round. According to Wood, she has a way of lulling fighters into uncomfortable positions and beating them everywhere just enough to take control of the fight. While he did not expect the fight to be so one-sided, he acknowledged that weight classes exist for a reason, and when two elite fighters collide, size and strength often matter. Wood made it clear that Zhang is still an exceptional athlete and the best strawweight the division has ever seen. He said he knows exactly what Zhang is capable of and has seen it every day in the gym. That made Valentina's ability to hold her down and control the fight even more impressive. In his view, the result was not a knock on Zhang's skill, but rather a reminder of the physical realities between divisions. After the loss, attention quickly turned to Zhang's future and a likely return to strawweight. In her absence, Mackenzie Dern captured the vacant title, and Wood believes the path forward is obvious. He said there is a clear route for Zhang to return and reclaim the belt. adding with confidence that the title still belongs to Zhang. While he showed respect to Mackenzie, he emphasized that this is the fight most people expect to see next. Wood admitted he would prefer if Zhang did not have to endure another brutal weight cut, but he understands that weight cutting is part of the sport. He openly criticized the practice, calling it unnecessary and brutal, and saying it takes a toll on fighters year after year. Zhang, he explained, sits in a difficult spot physically. She is extremely muscular, slightly big for strawweight, yet just a bit small to consistently compete with the very top flyweights. Even so, Wood did not rule out another run at 125 pounds in the future. He believes Zhang is capable of making adjustments, evolving her style, descent, and fighting a completely different fight if she chooses. Ultimately, he said it will come down to what Zhang feels is best for her career and her long-term goals. Moving on to another news, more and more voices in the MMA world are calling for Ilia and Alex Pereira to vacate their belts, as both fighters remain sidelined for different reasons. Pereira is waiting on a potential move to heavyweight, ideally for a matchup against Jon Jones or another major opportunity, while El Matador has been dealing with ongoing lawsuit drama. On the latest episode of the Believe You Me podcast, Paul Felder emphasized that this situation cannot drag on any longer, especially now in the Paramount era, where there are no more pay-per-view points to consider. Just big fights needed to keep momentum in the sport. Felder argued that if a champion wants to pursue another division long-term, even for a non-title super fight, they should vacate their belt to allow the division to move forward with a true undisputed title fight, rather than relying on stacked interim belts. At light heavyweight, Felder suggested a matchup between Jiří Procházka and Carlos Ulberg makes perfect sense to crown a new champion, as both are among the most deserving, unpredictable, and exciting fighters in the division. He broke down the stylistic matchup, explaining that Ulberg's point-fighting approach would struggle against the relentless, chaotic pressure of Procházka, a fighter who never stops pushing until opponents break. Felder elaborated, saying, champions who chase other divisions need to respect the unified title and let other fighters pursue championships. If someone wants to move to another division and work toward big names like Cyril Gane or Tom Aspinall, that is fine, but they should relinquish their belt to avoid muddying up the division with interim titles. With the new Paramount deal in place in 2026, Felder stressed the importance of undisputed champions, rather than a proliferation of interim belts. Discussing Ulberg specifically, Felder noted that patience is not an option against him. Ulberg is constantly in your face, ready to throw flying knees and unpredictable strikes. He jumps into exchanges aggressively, lands back on his feet, and brings a level of chaos few in the division can handle. Felder's point was clear. This matchup will test both fighters to their limits, and crowning a new champion in the light heavyweight division through a fight like Procházka versus Ulberg makes perfect sense for the sport and the fans. This approach ensures that the division remains competitive, exciting, and fair, while giving deserving contenders a clear path to championship opportunities. Moving on to another news, Ariel Helwani has revealed that Alexandre Pantoja will not need surgery. According to his team, the flyweight champion avoided the worst after the recent injury scare. Helwani said he has been told there will be no operation required, as only the tendons were affected. There were no fractures, the ligaments are intact, and surgery is officially off the table. That is a massive relief for Pantoja and everyone following his recovery closely. The expectation now is a careful rehab process, with hopes that he could return sometime around the middle to the third quarter of 2026. While timelines can always shift, the outlook is extremely positive given the diagnosis. It is incredible news for Alexandre Pantoja, especially considering how serious the situation initially sounded. Seeing him avoid surgery is beautiful to see, and it sets him up for a smoother path back to competition. Everyone is wishing him the very best. Moving on to another news, Daniel Cormier believes a showdown between Arman and Ilia has to happen at some point, because in his view, it is the only way to truly determine the best lightweight in the world. Arman currently finds himself in an awkward position within the UFC lightweight title picture, with Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett set to battle for an interim title, and reigning champion Ilia dealing with personal matters that require time away. Arman remains on the sidelines despite being the #1 ranked contender. Gaethje and Pimblett are scheduled to meet at UFC 3-4, with the winner expected to eventually welcome Ilia back to the octagon. That leaves Arman stuck in limbo, waiting without any clear indication of when his title opportunity might finally arrive. According to Cormier, that situation makes little sense, because he sees Arman as the most dangerous challenge Ilia will ever face at 155 pounds. Cormier went as far as to say that Arman might just be the best lightweight in the world right now. He explained that since Islam has moved on, Arman has emerged as a complete force, describing him as big, strong, physical, and highly skilled. While Cormier praised Ilia as a tremendous champion, he made it clear that, in his opinion, Ilia and Arman stand alone at the very top of the division. He believes their matchup is inevitable and necessary to settle who truly deserves to be called the best lightweight on the planet. Cormier also acknowledged the talent of other contenders. He praised both Paddy Pimblett and Justin Gaethje, calling them exciting and dangerous fighters. However, he emphasized that Arman and Ilia bring something different. Beyond skill alone, Cormier believes there is a natural storyline and competitive edge between them that could build into a massive fight. He pointed to Arman's recent performances, including how good he looked against Dan Hooker, as further proof of his elite level. Arman is currently riding a 5-fight win streak, with notable victories over Dan Hooker, Charles Oliveira, and Beneil Dariush. By almost any standard, that resume should earn him the next title shot. However, his path was disrupted earlier this year when an injury during fight week forced him out of a scheduled title fight against Islam. After the UFC scrambled to replace the main event, Dana White publicly stated that Arman had blown his opportunity and would need to work his way back into contention. Cormier admitted he does not fully understand why Arman is still waiting. He said that weighing in as a backup fighter and then returning to dominate Hooker seemed like it should have smoothed things over. At the same time, Cormier noted that Arman has not been very vocal or confrontational about the situation, which suggests there are private conversations happening behind closed doors. In the end, Cormier believes those involved know more than the public does. And for now, Arman appears willing to accept the situation while staying ready for the moment his long-awaited fight with Ilia finally becomes unavoidable.